Hello, this is Vern Danforth. I'm the state CAD engineer. I work here in the production support CAD office in Tallahassee, and I wanted to give you a briefing of the F.3D initiatives, some of the background, goals, and objectives, history of what we've been working on with the department. First of all, the overall mission for our 3D initiatives are to move the department towards designing and delivering integrated 3D models. We had four main objectives for that mission. One was to provide a higher quality of design intent. It helped reduce cross-component conflicts within plans. We were better able to find clash detections, improve the constructability, less field design changes, and several other advantages to designing in 3D. Our second initiative was to provide for automated machine guidance in construction of earthwork, paving, resurfacing, concrete, etc. And the third one was to move towards the model as a legal document in lieu of the project plans one day, or at least in combination with the project plans. And then finally, I think our industry as a whole, the infrastructure and transportation industry as a whole, other DOTs are moving towards this BIM for infrastructure initiative, construction information modeling, better information modeling, where we end up with a virtual twin of our projects that can be used for downstream uses such as asset and maintenance operations and those type of things. When we started out with this mission and our objectives, we knew it was going to be a long journey. It touches a lot of departments, a lot of folks, not only design, but all of the construction industry, as well as our maintenance and operations industry. I just wanted to go through a brief timeline. The department central office started doing our discovery, research, and development for providing 3D models for all of our components for roadway, utilities, signing and pavement marking, bridges, etc. Back in 2009, we focused in around 2014-15 on specific standard files to be used in construction for automated machine guidance off of the models, and we published those in a CAD standard, our standard manual, CAD manual, in July of 2015. We immediately started doing quality assurance reviews for 3D delivery to make sure we were getting consistent results for AMG files. And then as we moved into Civil 3D and Open Roads Designer off of Geopack, we started focusing on a model-centric design development and delivery. There were some milestones along the way where we had a few pilot projects that delivered models as a legal contract document using a list on the signature page to essentially sign and seal those, similar to what we do in project plans. And then we also submitted a memo saying that all new projects starting in January of 2021 would be model-centric designs in both ORD and Civil 3D. About that time, we were also looking at automated quantities from our models, and in the summer of 2022, it was July of 2022, we made it a requirement that any files used to create the earthwork calculations projects would be signed and sealed also. And then, of course, you'll hear more about the NexGen Plan development, which was born to support model-centric designs and delivery.
Thanks, Vern, for that overview on why we made the changes. So I'm Paul Hires. I'm going to give you an overview of what those changes are as we moved from the 300 series, our legacy set of plans, to the 900 series, our model-centric plans. Helping me today, Candy Daffin from the CAD office, and also Sergio from District 1, the drainage engineer, is going to help me show you what the changes are. So let's start with 900 series. The FDM 900 starts by talking to what we have produced or why we produced it because of our transition to ORD. FDM 900 talks about why we made the transition to the model-centric plans. It was to support our transition to Open Roads Designer. A lot of the procedures and processes were required to change so that we could produce our plans on that new platform. One of the significant changes that was made in this chapter was to introduce large format sheets. So we have 3 additional sizes now. We have our traditional or standard format size 11 by 17. And now we have these large formats 24 by 36, 36 by 48, 36 by 72, as you can see in the table here. So where this table right here contains every sheet that is produced in the contract set. And then by column, it shows you the allowable sheet sizes that are to be used. By first glance, you see that large format sheets are allowed for a significant number of these contract plan sheets. What we ask the designer to do is when there are multiple allowable sizes, select the size that will most efficiently lay out or display the information and convey that information to the contractor. Before I move on, I want to talk about creating worksheets. These worksheets will help us conduct coordination or processes that require field work, so to be able to print an 11 by 17 for the convenience of taking them out in the field and such things as that. Also, reviewers sometimes like to have 11 by 17s as well. So you start out by selecting the sheet size that you will use for the contract set and then fully develop that design file that supports that sheet, that contract sheet. So you're selecting a large format sheet perhaps, but you're fully developing all of those design files that will support that large format sheet that will become part of the contract plan set. When that is completed, now you can create these worksheets. So you would go back into the application and you would select 11 by 17 and you're using the fully developed design files for that contract sheet. And then you will regenerate the PDFs and it will give you 11 by 17 version or create or working sheets that you can use for those various processes. So this is a large format sheet. It is 3 by 4 and it contains the full project, which is a realignment of an intersection. And then so the large format sheet was created as the contract document. That red box shows what we were interested in creating a worksheet for. And so using that application, after the sheet's created, we will go in and select 11 by 17 and we will generate this sheet. So it's the identical information that was in the contract set is now in this working document or 11 by 17 working sheet. This process can be used on any plan view that you're creating the sheets by using the baseline.
In the past, the estimated quantity data was included in tables on plan sheets as part of the project PDF. In this example, you can see that the summary of pay items was previously included in the plans. Since that report is available through WebGate for Ashtaware project pre-construction and may be exported to a PDF, it is no longer necessary to duplicate that data in the plan set. In the past, the quantity tables were inconsistent and scattered throughout the project PDF with each discipline's plans. The quantity information was in different columns or formats from table to table. Some tables had quantities by location and others had quantities by sheet. And as you might notice by the PDF page numbers, they could be a bit tricky to find. With the implementation of the FDM 900 series, specifically FDM 902, all pay item and quantity information for all components of a project are contained in the EQ report. Here is an example of a completed EQ report, a single PDF file that contains a series of summary tables. This document is easily searchable by pay item number or keyword and includes bookmarks for each of the individual summary tables. Each summary table is now formatted consistently, starting with pay item data, followed by the quantity information, then location data, and finally notes and remarks. All summary tables now give location data by project location, either station and offset, landscape site number, or bridge component. For automated quantities, there is also a reference to the element ID of the drawing element in the CAD model that corresponds with the quantity given. Although not shown here, if there are multiple funding sources on a project, each summary table title and bookmark will be appended with the associated Funding Financial Project ID, or FPID, and will have separate entries for each FPID if the same summary table has quantities which are paid under more than one funding source. The Excel summary files used to generate the EQ report are delivered within the CAD.zip or BIM.zip within the Calculations folder. These files will be used to track quantities for final estimates during construction.
Thank you, Candy. So now let's talk about cross-sections. So cross-sections now, they're used as supplemental information. They are not a contract document. There's still a need to have them, and we want them produced, and they're put in files so that downstream users can use them. We also provide them with each one of the phase reviews during design so that reviewers can easily assess the information as well. They're not placed in the contract set. They are supplemental information, not signed and sealed. We put the final sheets in PSEE design documentation so that the contractor, when it goes to contract, can have access to these as well. What you're seeing is a large format sheet that was batch plotted. So the new application will look at the alignment and then will generate cross sections in a large format or the size that is chosen by the designer. They batch plot from bottom to top and then from left to right. So it's going up station this way all the way through the alignment. The way that the batch plot works, it looks at available white space and then generates these accordingly to fit on the sheet. A lot of the information that is placed is auto-generated, so a lot of the labeling is already done, and you can see each one comes with its own grid pattern, which is what the new process requires us to do. It contains utility information and other information that would typically have been required from the 300 series. What you don't see is the columns that we used to use to generate earthwork. Earthwork no longer uses these cross sections to do that. We do a surface to surface or skin to skin, layer to layer, lots of different terminology there. But it is a calculated value now between these two levels. And that's how we get our earthwork. So we don't need the cross sections to do that. Again, it's supplemental information. If there was soil information, corings and such, they'd be shown on here as well. So this is what the large format sheet shows. So here's a set of plans that was, I believe this one is going to go to contract this year. Hasn't been sent quite yet, but it shows batch plotting on 11 by 17. So again, you can see that it goes in and selects how many it can fit on the white space for the sheet size that you selected, and then it begins to lay these out. So you'll see 3, 3, 2, 3, so 1. So it's trying to judge what can fit on each available white space, and then we'll fill it up on 11 by 17. So I will say a few things about the key sheet that has changed. Each one of the key sheets for each of the components are now the same. The only difference is the title. So this happens to be the roadway plans. But if it were signal plans, lighting plans, ITS plans, this would simply change to indicate what set of PDFs or plans that you are looking at. But the sheet will look the same. All the components will contain the same information. What you'll see now missing is the map, which went away a couple years now. It's been a couple years that we did this. What it's replaced with is a link that takes you to the work program website, which has all of our projects that is in the 5-year work program. It has it captured there. So when you click on that, it takes you to the state roadway map, similar to what you would see in Google Maps, and it would identify where the project is. So this gives you a quick link to take you right to the project that is identified within the work program, and then it has other information that used to be in the data box for the 300 series. So here's an example of a District 2 project, went to contract last year, and it shows what the new sheet looks like. I also wanted to show you that when you have the tiles displayed over here, you can see which ones are large format sheets. You can see how they change. So when you see how it changed in shape, you know that that is a large format sheet. And so you'd have to zoom out to see it in its entirety, like that. And if you scroll down, you can see that the plan sheets are also large format. I think there was something else down here as well. Maybe not. But you can see quickly, so this plan set had 7 large format sheets mingled in with all the rest of it was 11 by 17. So now let's talk about the plan and profile sheet. Again, the information that is provided on the sheet between the 300 and 900 series is essentially the same. Very little has changed or requirements has changed. One of the things that we did is went in and identified when to put in, at a minimum, labeling and dimension. Here happens to be a roundabout that fits on a 2x4 sheet in its entirety. And so all the call-outs, you can see the many call-outs that are shown here, but that 2,500 feet didn't come into play. The District 2 project, which I'll show you in just a minute, where it had long runs, it was a 9-mile resurfacing project with long runs. You can see how infrequently the call-outs are, but are not needed when they're all shown together like that. This is the District 4 project, the roundabout project. You can see that there's quite a bit of labeling necessary on this project. In fact, the labeling so dense that they had to have little details that they showed over here in available white space to provide more of those station offset callouts. The callouts are just the same as what we would have provided with the 300 series. But what I'd like you to notice, let me find a drainage structure. So a drainage structure in here, we provide the drainage structure number, but the pipes and lengths are not labeled. That is on the drainage structure sheet, which Sergio will cover in a minute. If you zoom in even closer, you can see that these arrows are indicating which way the water is expected to flow within the closed drainage systems. That is something new that we added this year. Also, when Sergio is explaining or telling us about the drainage structure sheet, you'll see that we are now labeling the pipes as well. So it's a P-102. This would be a P-102 following the structure. So I might want to mention here that I showed you the process for cutting 11 by 17s. It would not be as easy for something like this, an intersection interchange where we're showing everything together. It can still be done, but you're going to have a lot of match lines that may not be as easily read when you convert it into those working documents. So now I'm going to turn it over to Sergio. He's going to tell us about drainage structure sheets.
So my name is Sergio Figueroa. I'm with the FDOT in District 1 in the Drainage Office. I'm here to present to you today on changes that we've done to the 900 series, specifically for the drainage maps and any drainage information associated with any contract plans. I have 3 separate jobs that we've done in-house that I'd like to present on that have a different wide range of scope with drainage, so I can show you what to look for, what has changed, and point out some things that I think will be useful for everybody to know. So here you can see I have loaded here the drainage map for one of our full reconstruction projects that we did in-house. Not much has changed to the drainage map itself. There's still you still have the same information required, like your plan view, your drainage areas, your structure numbers, begin, project, end limits. The SDM does not require a profile, but on this one we felt it was useful to have a profile here, so we went ahead and showed it. But that's up to the EOR, and it goes by project by project. But from that standpoint, from the 900 series, not much has changed between the previous versions that we've done here. The next step that we're going to hear is one of the big changes that we had was instead of all of the drainage information shown on the roadway plans, we now have our own separate drainage set of plans that have all the information that the contractor needs to build the drainage infrastructure. Here you can see that it shows both plan and profile on the same sheet for the same trunk line. So one of the bigger changes that we had was from the previous version to now with the 900 series is we're no longer providing drainage structure sections. We're now showing profiles that represent those sections. So you can see here, if you follow along, structure 1000 to 1007, that it shows our profile coming through here and also shows the conflicts, not conflicts, but any utility crossings that come across through that particular section. And we also have profiles that cut along at different points of the storm sewer systems. And the easiest way to follow along is the structure number. So from structure 1001 to 1003, and then up to 1002 here. And again, you can see any utility pipe crossings are also represented in here. Here's another example here from 1006 to 1005. Any utilities that are shown within that area. You also see your existing and your proposed ground lines, and that's about it. So everything else, as you can tell from the plan view, is shaded out other than just your drainage and structures and pipes and appropriate labels. Similar sheets here kind of go over the same similar look. And then for this particular project, because of the amount of structures and pipes that we had, it was much easier to represent them in a table format on a separate sheet. For smaller projects, you can include them in the same sheet, but for this particular one, we lumped them all together. And one thing I'd like to point out is that in the plan views, all you're going to see here is a pipe label and a structure number. But there's actually no call-outs for pipe lengths or anything else. All that's done now is shown in the tabular format. And the reason for that is to remove duplicate information from the plans, and so that way everything is labeled and consistent with just with one call-out instead of multiple ones. Another thing I like to point out, too, is that these sheets are named drainage structures. All your tabular information is labeled as drainage structures data. Here's another project that we had here. This was more scaled down as the project consisted mostly of milling and resurfacing. There were some pond details as well as some side drains and minor drainage structure replacements associated with this project as well. You're not required to show side drain in a profile, but since we were already had this profile sheet, this sheet cut out already, we just felt like let's just go ahead and show it. But it is not required per the 900 series here. Again, here, this is a head wall extension. Again, you can see, if I zoom in here, you can see your pipe label, some pipe structures. You got a manhole with the side drain and minor end section. And you see here the profiles that represent those here. We have labeled the conflict note for your utilities. In this particular case, we're still at phase 2R, so the utilities haven't been removed and haven't been relocated per the RGBs, but we're getting close to that, so we can remove this conflict here. Okay, so here's some more examples of similar information, similar plan sheets with the drainage structures. And what I'd like to get to now is here, and this is the same tabular format. You have your pipe labels, your number of barrels, your pipe lengths, indicates your sizes here. And one thing I like to point out as well is your optional pipes here. It's labeled as Group 1, Group 2, and then on the next table over shows what the availability material that the contractor can utilize here. On this table here shows your structure data information, so it's labeled again similar to the summary drainage structures, how it was before, just a little bit of a different format, but again, the information where you got all this information from the drainage structure data, it's now tabulated here in one stop shop table here. This is where we put our summary of side drains here. Again, similar format how it was before, but again, has all the structure and station offsets, your pipe lengths, your pipe sizes, has all that remarked here, and then your labels here for reference in the plan sheets. The 900 series still allow for drainage details. In this particular case, we had ditch block sections that we called out for construction. And so it's detailed out here in a separate sheet for drainage details. This is just for this particular section, but any drainage details that you have, you can put in this sheet here, and this is where it would reference. For stormwater facilities, whether it be an off-site pond or in this case what we have is linear pond, this is where we have put all the information for your pond details, whether it be pond labeling or in this case the calling out what your begin and end stations are for your ditches and your along with the ditch blocks associated with those, and any notes associated with the stormwater facilities. The last one is your very basic, where you have milling resurfacing jobs and you just have a handful of drainage structures. In this particular case, we chose to put all the structure and pipe information and profile all together. That's certainly the best case scenario, so that way the contractor or the reviewers can see it all in one sheet. But again, because of size, it's hard to do it. You do have the option of utilizing the bigger 24 by 36 sheets. But for here in District 1, we utilized only the smaller sheets, especially for submittal to utilities. And then here's another example of another minor pipe construction here. We actually proposed a new inlet at this location and connect to the existing trunk line. So you have here, we have our labels for the concrete jacket, structure number. And then here you can see the profile where we show where we have our pipe labels, our existing ground, and then the existing and proposed pipe. And then you can see here, the structure data information, along with any reference to the standard indexes, your J-bottom dimensions. And then here are your pipe labels are shown here as well as your optional materials. That is it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name again is Sergio Figueroa with FDOT District 1, and I hope you have a great day.
Okay, thanks, Sergio. So here's the remaining chapters. We're not going to go into any detail about these because there really is no significant change as we move from 300 series to 900 series. Just like that table showed, there's still large format sheets that would be either part of the sheets or within these components. There would be large format sheets contained in these. And that concludes our overview of model-centric plans or NexGen plans. And we do thank you for your time. Safety message, just be aware of your surroundings when you're out walking around. Use the facilities that are there for the purpose of keeping you as safe as possible. But be aware of vehicles and surrounding and activities to keep yourself safe.